So this may be you this morning. You wake up and it's cold. You come to check your thermostat, it's on, but the temperature is dropping. What are we going to do? Well, first, let's check and see if this isn't an issue with your thermostat. We're going to bring the temperature down. Alright, so we can hear the mercury setting the switch. And if I turn it back up, the same thing. Okay, so it should be, in theory, sending the signal to the furnace to do what we want it to do today. Let's check one more thing. Turn the fan on, and we've still got nothing. Alright, so we have some sort of a power issue, or the furnace has had an error and has shut down. So let's take a look at what we do next. In my case, we're only running 120, so there is a light switch that's been installed that acts as a cutoff should you not want to go to the circuit breaker to kill the power. Now, we see that that's on, shouldn't have any issues. Next thing to check is inside the unit itself, which yours may not be near as easy as mine. But when we take off the cover, if you're running a newer furnace, there will be a trouble code. Should be a trouble code, as long as it's not a power issue. In my case, the red status light right here, that would be indicating a problem for me. But as we can see, nothing is lit up. That means we've got a power problem. Okay, so make sure your breakers have all been labeled. If they've never been labeled, unfortunately the only way to do that is to flip each breaker off and figure out what stops working in your house. Right now we're looking at number 10, and let's just say this morning you've come outside, checked your breaker box, and it has been tripped. You would see the orange light if it was an actual trip, but since I've flipped the switch myself, we see nothing. So let's turn it back on. The number one cause of a tripped breaker is because your fan motor has been working overtime, and it is likely because you never changed the filter. This one's been sitting in the closet for a while. It is not what I pulled out of my unit. This is what it should look like. If your breaker blew, that is the first thing to go look for, is a clogged air filter. And it will trip the breaker in the summertime when you're running the AC too. So, back at the thermostat, let's say that resetting the breaker, checking the power switch in the closet didn't fix your problem. Well, we're going to dig a little bit deeper before we make a phone call to an overpriced technician. If turning the power back on didn't solve your problem, there's a few more things you can do before we make that call. Again, try to find that trouble light if you're equipped with one. If you're not equipped with one, walk through these same steps before you pull the trigger and probably waste a little bit of money on a tech. That trouble light will tell you what the code is. Now, somewhere on your unit, in my case, it is labeled right on the front panel. It explains to you how many flashes means what. Pretty simple and straightforward. Whether it's the flame sensor, pressure switch, or a temperature sensor that's kicking in because it's, well, getting too hot. So, find this on the unit. If you can't find it, try and find the model number and the make of your furnace, and Google is a world of information. So, here's what happens in my case pretty regularly. Just a couple of things. If I go and turn my furnace on and nothing happens, usually the red light is on because in the middle of the night the furnace may have gotten too hot, the flame sensor is getting dirty, or what's happened multiple times is this little suction line gets clogged that goes to this diaphragm on the pressure switch. When you turn on your furnace, a gas furnace in this case, the first thing that should happen is your inducer motor begins spinning. So when you've heard what you thought was a fan motor, it's been this. If I go to my thermostat right now and turn it back on, this is going to start spinning. The system is going to make sure that this is functioning properly before it turns on any gas and I get any kind of flame. Now, this may be a little awkward to pull off. Try not to damage the rubber if it's dried out. But you can see this tiny opening. What has happened to me multiple times, and you'll notice since this leads to the outside, it gets a little cruddy. That condensation buildup inside works its way down, things get rusty. What I've done is taken an 1/8 inch drill bit and just worked my way in there with my hand. Not a real drill. We're not trying to drill holes. We're just clearing a path. So if this comes on and your system shuts back down after you've reset the power, make sure that this hole is clear inside. Again, do not use a drill, just a small enough drill bit to make sure that that opening is clear. And there's really not much that you can hurt. All right, after we've checked that, the next thing you're going to do is come up and find your flame sensor, which mine is awkwardly hidden back in here. But as luck would have it, I have not only cleaned this multiple times, but I have replaced it already. So you're going to see something similar to this. It's got an insulator, much like a spark plug. It may be straight, it may be bent like mine, may be a little bit shorter. But as you can see, there is some fouling where that flame has, well, burn up the sensor. It could be from dust that's worked its way into the unit. Our furnace is right by the bathroom, so I've heard it's common for hairspray to get in here and cause that to foul. And when the flame hits it, anything on the outside of this metal causes the ohm reading to be off. So it's a little different if you're used to working with something with an open and close situation, 2 wires, but this is only one. So here's what we're going to do. You can either try to do this with it still installed, which is what I do now because it's so awkward to get a hand back there, and I always lose that small screw. Take a really fine sandpaper and lightly rub this down, or what some people will say to do is a dollar bill. It's just rough enough to take off what's been burnt on the outside without actually damaging the metal itself. So that is about all there is to it. If you have to go any deeper, I'm going to advise you to find somebody that knows a little bit about what they're doing, because we have actually had to replace our gas valve. A friend did it for us. It just saved me the headache of having to deal with it, and saved me a heck of a lot of money. But as with a lot of things in life, if it doesn't work, try tapping it with a hammer. Before we finally troubleshooted that it was the gas valve intermittently failing, I could tap it with a hammer, the solenoid would kick in, and gas would flow, the flame would turn on. So there you go. If you've got an issue, always check your power first. If a simple reset doesn't work, always check your filters, because again, this is night and day, and if your filter looks like that, it's not working. So I hope you stay warm this winter. Good luck to you. If you've got an older style furnace, things are not this cut and dry. And if you watch this video and you've got an electric furnace, there's really not a lot that you can do besides tripping the breaker or changing your filter. You may have to call somebody to look at the separate sequencers and things that run the electric furnace, or replace a coil. But this is simple. It happens multiple times to me. I hope you're not left in the cold this winter. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Make sure and give a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, comment below. I do have some experience in HVAC outside the home, so ask away. Thanks for watching.